In the mountains of southern Chile, there was a village that looked like paradise. Neat German houses, a church, a school, smiling children. The locals called it Colonia Dignidad. The people inside called it home. It was neither of those things. Paul Schaefer had fled Germany in the 1960s after being accused of molesting children in his church youth group. He brought dozens of followers to Chile and built a compound so isolated, so controlled, that the outside world simply had no idea what was happening inside. Children were abused for decades. Followers were beaten into silence. Mail was intercepted. No one left without permission. Then Pinochet took power in 1973, and the colony became something even darker. The secret police started bringing political prisoners through the gates. The compound had medical equipment, trained staff, and total secrecy. People went in. They did not come out. Hundreds of Chileans were tortured and disappeared there. Schaefer finally faced justice in 2006. He died in prison in 2010. The village that looked like paradise was a graveyard with a church on top. They called it lip pointing. Every morning, young women sat down at long factory tables, dipped tiny brushes into glowing radium paint, and pressed the bristles between their lips to form a fine tip. Their supervisors told them it was safe. Some girls painted their nails with it. Their teeth. They went home glowing in the dark, thinking it was fun. It wasn't fun. Within a few years, their teeth began falling out. Their jawbones crumbled. One woman's entire lower jaw was removed in a single piece. The bones that remained were so saturated with radium, they fogged photographic film just by touching it. These were the Radium Girls of Orange, New Jersey, and the company knew. Their own doctors were paid to lie, to call it syphilis. Anything but radium. So the women sued. Some were too sick to stand in court. They came in on stretchers. They won. Their case forced the United States to recognize that a company could be held responsible for poisoning its own workers. Corporate evil, dressed up in a glowing paint jar. In 1932, the US government told 400 black men in rural Alabama they were getting free health care. They were lying. For 40 years, doctors watched these men die from untreated syphilis. They called it bad blood and gave them aspirin instead of medicine, even after penicillin was discovered in the 1940s, a cure that could save their lives. The government kept watching, kept lying. The men had no idea they were being used as lab rats. When wives got infected, doctors did nothing. When children were born with the disease, they took notes. 400 men became test subjects in their own nightmare. In 1972, a whistleblower finally exposed the horror. By then, dozens were dead, families destroyed, entire bloodlines poisoned. The government fought the lawsuits for years, claiming they were immune from prosecution. This wasn't medicine. This was torture disguised as science. The Tuskegee study became the foundation for modern research ethics, but only after 40 years of deliberate cruelty that showed just how far America would go in the name of scientific curiosity. In 1945, America made a deal with the devil, and almost no one found out for decades. When World War II ended, the United States secretly recruited over 1,600 German scientists. Many of them had worked directly for the Nazi regime. Some had run experiments on living prisoners in concentration camps. Their names were real. Their crimes were real. But the government buried both. Under a program called Operation Paperclip, intelligence officers scrubbed the records. War crimes disappeared on paper. New histories were written. These men were given jobs, homes, and American identities. One of them was Wernher von Braun. He had used concentration camp prisoners as slave labor to build rockets. Those same rockets killed thousands of civilians in London. He later helped design the Saturn V rocket that carried Americans to the moon. The victims' families never saw a single day of justice. America reached the stars, but it got there on the backs of people who were never allowed to speak. That is the part they left out of the history books. In 1978, a congressman walked into a jungle compound in Guyana. He was trying to rescue American citizens. He never made it out alive. Jim Jones had started as a civil rights preacher in Indiana, but by the 70s, he'd transformed into something else entirely. He moved 900 followers to a remote settlement called Jonestown, cut off from the world. No phones, no way out. Jones controlled everything. When they ate, when they slept, what they believed. He made them practice dying, called it revolutionary suicide. They drank what they thought was poison. It was just Flavor Aid, a sick rehearsal. But on November 18th, it wasn't practice anymore. Congressman Leo Ryan came to investigate. Jones panicked. The audio recordings from that day still exist. You can hear Jones calmly ordering the deaths, parents crying as they poisoned their own children, the sounds of 900 people dying while Jones watched. It took less than an hour. They called it suicide, but the autopsies told a different story. Most were murdered.